Good afternoon, Trump's family. Welcome back to my channel. Have a good day and God bless you. Let's get into the news. Twitter Files number 15 was just released. In this publication, independent journalist Matt Taibbi details how former FBI counterintelligence official Clint Williams accused conservative accounts of being Russian bots. Williams was part of the Alliance for Securing Democracy. And he controlled a website called Hamilton 68 which claimed to track Russian bots. Twitter's former head of trust and safety. Yo. Well, Roth commented about the situation in a private email. He stated, "I think we just need to call this out on the BS that it is." He claimed the Hamilton website falsely accuses a bunch of legitimate right-leaning accounts of being Russian bots. So basically, this FBI agent to save democracy faked a website and a Russian bot tracker in order to wipe out conservatives. Like, how does this protect democracy? So Ross called this out for what it was, a fake FBI agent, using Russian propaganda with Russian hackers to attack the enemy on the other side, which was conservative influencers on social media. Major news companies also used this false data to publish stories claiming real trending hashtags, such as hashtag Deep State, were fueled by Russian bots and not real people. When Well did an investigation into the dashboard, he found that they were accounts by pro-Trumps and that they were conservative-leaning Americans, but that they were being labeled as Russian bots. Will ultimately concluded that real people need to know they've been unilaterally labeled Russian stooges without evidence or recourse. So this head at Twitter knew these accounts were real people and that he was being manipulated to behave in a certain direction, so that this FBI agent could basically label people as Russian influence peddlers. Let me know what you think down below. Is this corrupt? Does this really help democracy by making us hate each other? By spreading propaganda? That is absolutely false. In the name of truth and democracy. Senator Rand Paul said his team is actively working to bring the truth to the American people about the government's role in COVID and the cover-up of the lab leak theory. However, last night, he told reporters that the federal government is working overtime to mark important documents he requests as top secret so that he's not allowed to use them, look at them, or reference them. So let's just call this out for what it is. This is a cover-up for Dr. Fauci and also for the federal government for their role in deceiving and manipulating the American people. Now, why do you think the White House would work overtime to label these as classified and top secret? Is this to cover for Fauci? Is this to cover for China? Is this to cover for the White House? Let me know your thoughts down below. But to me, this is wild, like they are absolutely trying to protect and cover up the story. The United States has just announced that they have killed an ISIS leader on the orders of President Joe Biden. The U.S. military conducted the operation on Wednesday in northern Somalia, which resulted in the death of 11 ISIS members. The original plan was to capture the leader alive. However, the cell of individuals responded with violent behavior, and so to avoid risk of civilians and soldiers, they were taken out and luckily nobody died other than the targets. Now, despite being a leader of the free world and making these highly complex decisions, President Joe Biden can't stop himself from embarrassing himself. While he was addressing the state of the economy, he joked about how people thought he was stupid, because he once told people to sit down in a room with no chairs. Later, during the same speech, Biden stated, "No president added more debt in 4 years than my president. I misspoke. 25% of our economies is debt." Now, neither made sense in context. And both were very confusing. So it seems Biden also did not know what he was talking about. But maybe it was a teleprompter issue. Because we know how smart he is. Now, speaking of President Biden, the U.S. Treasury has denied a request from the House to disclose flagged reports concerning the Biden family business dealings. Check this out. Banks in the United States labeled 150 financial transactions as suspicious from Hunter and James Biden. Now, to give you context, in my financial planning, if I was to do this with one report, I would be in huge trouble. But they buried 150 of these reports. The transactions are reportedly wire transfers that contained large sums of money, as reported by Breitbart News and other news media outlets. Now, despite the suspicious nature of these documents, and these wire transfers, they're being held against being released to these Republican leaders. And they say, "No, we're now going to subpoena these from you, and you must comply." So 150 SARS reports or suspicious activity reports were issued by major banks on large transactions involving James Biden and Hunter Biden, but because of who he was related to, the banks turned a blind eye. And now the Treasury Department is doing the same thing. So I'll continue to update you on this, but it looks like the House Republicans will have to subpoena this information. Did you know that there were 150 suspicious activity reports claimed by banks that were ignored? That was news to me as well. Speaking of money, all the major indexes on Wall Street are green today. And gold and silver are neutral. Bitcoin and Ethereum were also positive today, and the price of oil dropped to under $80 a barrel. In a new interview, Ukrainian President Zelensky has called Russian President Vladimir Putin. And nobody. Zelensky stated his belief that Ukraine is just the first step in Putin's plan to capture other countries. If you ask me, we are not going to be negotiating peace anytime soon. And whether it's true or not, they're kicking off the propaganda machine that Putin is ready to go to war with all of Europe, and that the United States is going to be sucked in. Now, I'm not saying that this isn't going to happen. I do believe we are heading into World War III. But they're trying to pitch it as this is his plan versus what he has been open about, which is if you join NATO, we will attack Ukraine, and that's exactly what they did. I hate reporting on this, but these are big stories. But this is what's in the news today on that topic. Donald Trump has detailed his plan to save American education. Trump stated he will cut federal funding for any school or program pushing critical race theory, gender ideology, and other inappropriate racial, sexual, or political content onto our young children. Trump then explained how he will incentivize change by funding opportunities for schools who follow the new program. Trump concluded, "When I'm president, we will put parents back in charge and give them the final say. We will get back to teaching reading, writing, and arithmetic, and we will give our kids the high-quality pro-American education they deserve." Now, earlier today, the video footage of Paul Pelosi being attacked and held captive in his home was released. I have to admit I found this footage very disturbing to watch. So if you're sensitive, I would not go watch it. The footage showed the break-in from the outside and then also showed the police interaction with Paul Pelosi and the guy that broke into their house, and then it shows the violent hammer attack and his arrest. I also listened to the 911 call. It was very interesting in hindsight to listen to a confused Paul Pelosi tried to cryptically convey to the 911 operator that he was in trouble. And so a lot of things were taken out of context in the news, so I'm glad that they released this, because I wanted to see and hear it with my own eyes. Even though I don't particularly care for the Pelosi family. It was hard to watch a fellow human being be attacked. So anyway, very interesting. I'm glad they released this to the public. Earlier today, the RNC and the Republican National Convention met to vote on the party's convention leader. The group re-elected Ronna McDaniel for a fourth term, so she will carry the Republican Party forward through 2024. Republicans and Democrats in Congress have finally agreed on something. Members of Congress with the right security clearance should be able to know what the classified documents were at Trump, Biden, and Pence's home. They say keeping this hidden from Congress is wrong. And it's also fueling speculation about what these documents contain. Representative Adam Schiff has announced he is running for the Senate in California. He said he wants to stay in politics because the biggest threat to our country is Donald Trump and a Republican-led House of Representatives. Let me know in the comments down below, is the biggest threat to the country a House-led Republican-led House of Representatives and Donald Trump, or is it something else? Is it the cartel? Is it going into World War III? Is it the horrible spending habits of the federal government? And next news. All right, so as you can see, Paul Pelosi clearly opened the door. David Depop had his right hand on the hammer, as did Pelosi, and he opened the door with his left hand. Strangely, Pelosi said, "Hey, guys, how are you?" when the police arrived. And Depop, they said that everything's good here. Everything's fine. Pelosi looked obviously a bit bewildered. It's very odd that he didn't immediately call for help or anything like that. He just stood there like a deer in front of the headlights. They were both holding the hammer. I don't know who initiated that. It could have been Pelosi, and it was Depop that was trying to take it out of his hand. But regardless, the mystery of who opened the door is solved. Remember, according to official reports, Pumpet confronted Paul Pelosi demanding to see Nancy. At some point, Pelosi excused himself from Depop by saying he needed to use the bathroom. It just so happens that that's where apparently Paul Pelosi was charging his phone. And so at approximately 2:30 a.m. Paul Pelosi called 911 on his cell phone. The dispatcher for the San Francisco Police Department relayed the following message. The reporting party or RP stated that there's a male in the home, and that he's going to wait for his wife. RP stated that he doesn't know who the male is, but he advised that his name is David and that he's a friend. The reporting party sounded somewhat confusing. I think so. Police arrived 2 minutes later, and according to the official story, they knocked and an undisclosed person opened the door. At that point, the police observed the two men each were wrestling with the single hammer and Depop. He immediately pulled it from Pelosi and started hitting him with it. And the cops tackled the papa and took him into custody. So that was the official timeline. We were first told to say that it was odd would be an understatement. Obviously, it's beyond bizarre, peculiar, but then Elon Musk of all people tweeted out this, there's a tiny possibility, there might be more to the story than meets the eye. And he linked to a story from the Santa Monica Observer, and what they called the real truth of what happened, where they argued that Paul Pelosi was actually drunk and got into a fight with a male prostitute who, according to the article, was David Depop. And the story went on to say that Pelosi had long been widely rumored to be gay, and that this was basically a confirmation that rumor. So obviously, Musk absolutely freaked out the legacy media, claiming he was a conspiracy theorist and the like. Thank you very much. WWG1WGA. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button to watch the next episode. Goodbye. God bless.